Yeah, we're gonna start it up now. Welcome everybody to Two Spartans Discuss. Yeah, we're about to get a little funky up in here. Better believe it. Yeah. All right, everybody. Welcome.
How's it going,
I'm your
everybody?
I'm your host, Become Alpha, here with my boy, Fil-Am. How you doing, Phil?
I'm good. I'm excited about this. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good. On We're gonna have a little conversation about it. Spartan challenge, life, faith, everything. We're gonna discuss everything that is about us. So, for everybody, sit back, relax, and I hope they enjoy on there. So, Mr. Phil, sir, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 40 years old. I live outside of Phoenix, Arizona. I've been out here for almost 6 years. I became a Christian in March of 2018, and just started my YouTube channel, Fil-Am, Destination Philippines, and I'm working on a goal of reaching a goal of moving to the Philippines.
All right. Another passport, bro.
I am
talking about. I'm gonna make sure to have a card with all your information. The information will be on the comment on the description below. Make sure I have a card to hit you up and follow you on the YouTube channel. You're also doing you do a weekly vlog on the Spartan challenge. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. So I started the Spartan challenge on October 1st. I guess I could kind of rewind a little bit and say earlier this year, between March and August, I was kind of directionless in my life. I was approaching 40 years old, and I'm just like, where am I going? What am I doing with my life? Just kind of lost. And so I've always kind of enjoyed the inspirational videos. And so I would listen to, just various inspirational videos. The majority of them were probably faith-based. And then I started coming across Jordan Peterson videos. I just discovered him in probably January or February this year. And when I discovered him, he's the one who kind of prompted me to come up with a goal. And I came up with the goal of moving to the Philippines. So I kind of owe him the foundation of my goal. I mean, of course, other than Jesus. Jesus, of course, is the first.
Obviously, yeah, absolutely.
But as for actually, seeing content and him talking to other young men and just people in general, not even young men, but coming across him, and like I said, he's like, if you don't have a family, if you don't have friends, if you don't have a good, important career, and he listed a few other things. And I was like, well, I only got 2 of those things. And he's like, if you don't, you need to come up with a goal. Come up with something almost unattainable, but, within something that's within your reach, and start working to that goal. So I sat, or didn't sit around, but, I just started contemplating on, what could I do? And ever since I was 23, I've been meeting Filipinas and Filipino people, but mostly Filipina females in all the states that I lived in. And they all tell me the same thing. You should go to Philippines. You could be big movie star. And so, and then especially with my ex, she was Filipina. A lot of her friends, were always told me, man, you should go to Philippines. You should go to Philippines. You could probably do really good out there. And I was like, I don't have anything here. I mean, my mom's here, but she lives in Virginia. My 2 sisters, they live by Chicago. We're kind of not really on top speaking terms right now, but which kind of sucks. But at the same time, I think it's good for all of us to kind of take that time apart right now. And so I was like, with how expensive houses are here in Phoenix, and it's like, well, I can never really own a house. So, why not try something new? And so I was like, man, I'm going to move to the Philippines and see if I can do some commercial acting and I don't know, maybe some modeling or something. there's a ton of a ton of possibilities.
You got the guns, right? You got the guns, might as well use them.
I'm working on it. So that's kind of how my channel started. And then eventually I came across Bo's channel, The Tribe of Men. And
yeah, I think shout out for Tribe of Men.
Yeah,
we got the Discord. Discord will be available on the description below on there. You can find us both there. Spartan Challenge. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
And so I had probably started watching his videos one day, and then like the second day I came across his interview with you.
Yeah.
And after watching your interview, the next one of his videos that popped up was his Spartan Challenge episode. And I was like, well, shoot, I want to do all those things already. Reading the book, like I really hadn't thought much about like the meditation and journaling, but everything else, I wanted to, I already wanted to do. So it was pretty convenient that everything that I wanted to do was already built into this channel, or into this challenge. So I just did it. And I had already started my YouTube channel maybe like, I don't know, 3 weeks before. I think I only had my one introduction video. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so doing the Spartan Challenge gave me some extra content and, for my weekly updates. And, that's kind of what I'm in the middle of now.
All right. Yeah. That interview was kind of a crazy. Didn't think I would be doing something like that. Kind of like exposing myself to the world per se, opening up old wounds and actually really just being vulnerable like that. But I knew that. Yeah, go ahead.
I saw that you were just like a real dude. Like I had mentioned to you, I emailed or I hit you up on Discord like the next day, and I was like, oh, I just watched your interview. There's a lot of similarities, so I related to you in a lot of your story, and I just saw a lot of realness and rawness from your point of view.
Yeah, it was definitely raw. I've never actually had to discuss something like that, especially something so open, and it was kind of a good opportunity because I talked to Bo, and kind of like Bo just became just another regular dude. We were just two guys just sitting down, having a beer, talking about our lives, almost, So, but I knew that it was something that it could help a lot of men, in this time frame, whether, when I felt that being a man is kind of, you're being attacked almost,
right.
There's no room for you in this world, been through a lot of failures pretty much, but the Spartan Challenge really kind of forces you to be accountable. And I think accountability and perception really changes everything, And
right.
when you add the little keys like meditation and books and all these other things on, of course, I think we're still similar because we're faith based. Being a Christian, my meditation was on the Bible and prayer. So right. I think that really opened up my eyes to certain things on it. And like you, I mean, I had there's a lot of stuff that I couldn't talk in the podcast because we only had on the interview, it's only had an hour or so.
Right.
But yeah, like I was having the same problem with, my brothers. I didn't speak to my older brother for a long time on it. Now we're super close on it. So I hope that's something that happens with your sisters. Because I know how important family is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely an experience. I'm cool to talk to you and kind of relate, and kind of see your progression and seeing what you're doing out there. Because, I thought I was doing good until you started biking 110 miles a week. And I'm just like, well, back to square one again.
Get a bike, brother. But I've been biking off and on for probably about 13 years or so. I mean, actually, I probably started biking about 12 or 13 years ago, but then I had maybe a 4 year time span where I didn't hardly do any biking. But even back then, I remember two separate summers, I lost like 30 pounds in that summer. And I wasn't even biking near as much. But now that I'm older, I'm 40 now, I can tell it's starting to take a lot more effort
Hey,
in order.
40 is a new 20.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 40 years old, man.
Oh, we're the same age?
Yeah, we're the same
Nice,
age.
nice. Okay. Yeah.
That's why we look so good. That's why we look
I
so
know it.
amazing, right? We're like wine, man. I'm telling you.
Somos primos, Hispanics and
That's
Filipinos,
it.
dude.
That's it. We are. We're like cousins, man.
Yeah, we are.
You know.
Yeah, Puerto Rico, that's why you guys speak Spanish. You guys were colonized by the Spanish.
Yeah.
Philippines, of course, is named after King Philip of Spain. And actually, the first trade route, like the first main trade route across the Pacific, was from Acapulco, Mexico, to Manila, Philippines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so Philippines was under the colonization of Spain for I want to say about 250 years or so. The governor of Spain, or the governor of Philippines for the Kingdom of Spain, was a Mexican from Acapulco.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's transition a little bit.
Sure.
Let's get into the Spartan challenge. Tell me a little bit, your take, struggles, and kind of like the most that you've gotten out of it while you've been, through the Spartan challenge.
Sure. Probably the most I've gotten out of it so far is the increase in physical exercise. Just the biking alone. I'm pretty sure. Well, I started biking back and forth to work in, I want to say, the beginning of August. And so now it's almost October, or end of October. So in about 2.5, 3 months, I'm pretty sure I'm down about 20 or 25 pounds. I was getting, like, if you go back and look at my introduction video to my YouTube channel, I look, I'm a lot puffier. I kind of look like a little marshmallow man type, especially in my face. I'm cachetón. And, and now I, if I go back and look at my newest uploads and stuff, I see a huge difference. So that's probably the biggest thing I've gotten out of it. Oh, and also too, the no processed foods. Mm-hmm. That's something that I've always wanted to do, because I know just eating Jack in the Box and Taco Bell every day, not only is it expensive, but I'm killing myself. You know what I mean? So good though, so good. But actually, dude, like towards like the last month or so, when I was eating fast food, the quality of it was starting to go downhill. Yeah, like I don't know if it's the quality or just get to a point where it goes from, oh, this is yummy, to like my body. I think maybe your body just going, stop putting poison in your body, because it's just get to the point you're like, I really don't want a cheeseburger. I want a steak and some potatoes and some broccoli. I don't know how people can still. I'm always, being from Puerto Rico, we're, number one is cooked food on it. Like I even, I was fat, but it's because it's from home cooked meals. Right. So it's weird when people just eat junk food all the time, because it's like you get tired of it after the second day. Yeah. It's good. Like I enjoyed it, like, but it was still only like a monthly thing, maybe, but right. I'll eat steaks and all day long without exercising. That was my big thing on there. It's just the exercise. Yeah, really submitting myself to exercise and watch my calories and what I'm eating and lowering my carbs, because being Puerto Rican, man, we like bread. Man, we like bread. Yeah. So I think that was the biggest thing, was just kind of not, dialing it in, and then boom, man, I started just the pounds started coming off on there. How much do you think you've lost so far? I have no idea. I don't have a scale. I don't either. I just go by gains. I'm like my hand. I go by what people are like. Yo, man, what have you been doing, man? I say, oh, what? Yeah. No, man, you're looking good. Or or the latest, like, it's like, man, you've been working out, huh? Yeah, your arms are getting really big. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Yeah. Girls approaching me, I'm approaching, and it's like naturally now, like I'm on a hunt almost, when I'm talking to women. So on it, like people tell me that I make women like
let's see, I'm nervous, but like in a good way on it when I'm talking to them. Because I got a little swag on it, so they're like, they get all uncomfortable. They don't know what to do and stuff.
They get like giddy.
Yeah,
giddy kind of
they
like
do.
a little schoolgirl. Yeah,
they do. It's like, and but that's because I also look better. I look good, as well.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm confident.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. When you know that you're making progress, you tend to maybe like hold your head up a little higher. You walk with your back straighter, and those are all the nonverbal keys that women will pick up on instinctively.
Yeah.
And I've been noticing too, because I walk my dog a lot, and plus when I'm writing, I'll notice chicks looking at me. But I'm kind of the exact opposite from you. I'm like, no, stay away. You get away from me. Because if I get involved with a girl right now, it'll ruin everything.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's I don't. I think the more, well, for me, I guess, because I've been on the little journey longer than you have. I was one of the original people on the server on there. So for me, it's a little bit different, I guess, because I've been through it for so long that it's just my lifestyle now.
Yeah.
It's no longer a challenge. That's just my lifestyle. I don't see myself not doing this anymore.
I was thinking that exact same thing. In fact, during Bo's last live stream, he was asking about, or somebody made a comment about the Spartan challenge on the live chat. And I put on there, I think I'm going to do this Spartan challenge as a lifestyle at the very least, until I get to the Philippines. I'm trying to get to the Philippines within the next 2 or 3 years. And I know as long as I stay in this Spartan challenge and actually make it a lifestyle, I'm only going to have success,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Look, your channel's going to blow up. You can get monetized, and then boom, you're going to be out there long, before you even know it.
Yeah.
You'll be one of those crazy people that flies to Thailand to do the 5 to 20Ks, all the crazy, races, goes back and forth.
Yeah. Well, I have one, it's a silly goal, but, the Philippines has over 7,000 islands, but I think only about 600 are inhabited. Mm-hmm. So when I get there, I actually want to bike the coastline of every inhabited island. You know what I mean? Kind of, some islands, I can probably do in a day, but, like Luzon, where Manila is, that would probably take me 4 or 5 days, maybe.
Well, that's not a silly goal. I think I want to do an ultra marathon before I'm 50.
What's an ultra? Because a marathon is 24 miles.
Anything over 50, everything over 100K is an ultra marathon.
Okay.
I believe. So I want to do at least one, so I can earn the title of being an ultra marathoner.
Do they have those in your area?
Oh yeah, they have them all over the place.
Okay.
So that's my goal. That's why I want to get in shape. I need more time to, train better and do it. So that's my goal. That's what, things that I gave myself to accomplish. But
yeah.
But yeah, let's So I know there's a couple other things in the Spartan challenge that people don't talk about, like the no fapping and no porn. Do you have any problems with that? Because I know a lot of men have a lot. I was addicted to porn many years ago on it.
Yeah.
So I could understand the struggle in some of the men in the server on there, but I didn't know how bad it was for some people who are just it's almost like an impossibility for them to do.
I think maybe a lot of that has to do with maybe how old they are. Because a guy that's I know I struggle with the same issues, but mostly when I was in my 20s, I kind of seemed to maybe grow out of it as I got older. Maybe because my libido wasn't as strong, or, you know what I mean? So I think maybe it's younger guys are maybe more prone to that. But I struggle with that. I'm not struggling with that now. In my last video, my last Spartan update, I broke the retention guideline because my ex came over and we hooked up. But as for
I ain't judging. I ain't judging though.
Yeah, but
Ain't nobody judging on that one. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
But still, I'm really, doing my best to make sure I adhere to the guidelines of the challenge. And, even Bo says, make her earn your seed. But
that's true.
I up until that point, I had, stuck with the once every 2 weeks. So that issue, that's not really a big issue for me. No.
Okay.
Are you able to adapt to that as well, or?
Oh no, yeah. I think now I don't I don't fap at all. Period.
Yeah.
Just don't. And I see it does make you like want women more.
Yeah.
Makes you like a hound dog almost.
Yeah.
So I like that.
It's like evolutionary. It's in our biology.
And it was crazy how because it wasn't like I was doing a crazy amount of times, but now it's just I'm like really like in touch with it. I'm like it's like I've been able to kind of grasp my own desires and needs and kind of just keeping a hold on them. So it's kind of a cool thing to
well, I think it gives you
control.
And also, with the retention, it gives you a boldness to approach women. You know what I mean? Because that natural, geez, Bronco, my dog's in here farting, man. Sorry. But it gives you that boldness because, if you're not fapping, it's built up and you want it. So it's, like you said, you're a hound dog, you're out hunting. So you might be a little more aggressive, not in a bad way towards women, but
but I think in a good way.
More
I think,
willing. Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of this kids don't understand. That's what they don't have that boldness that what women want, that, you go after it, in every other way, every sense. But it's just strange to see the state of manhood now,
And that's one thing, like when I was, into that type of stuff, I didn't understand really what it was doing. But now there's like, Jordan Peterson's talking about it. The Tate brothers talk about it. Bo talks about it, about how harmful and hurtful that is to men. And I never really thought about it until I started hearing it. And now a lot of things are making sense because, it takes that drive away to pursue a woman, and I never made that connection before.
And like it pacifies man. And we don't need to be pacified. We shouldn't be pacified. We should be like beasts. We should be, like like Jordan Peterson says, we should be a monster. We should be a monster, and then you learn how to control it.
Yeah,
that's so stoic. That's what I like about Jordan Peterson. Like he's like an academic, but he's like a stoic academic.
That's why he's on my wall right here.
Yeah, he's a stoic academic. Like he really kind of like he probably understands. He's not a self-proclaimed Christian, but he actually probably understands Christianity better than probably the vast majority of Christians out there, and even some pastors. Like he understands and he studies it. It's just, I get a lot of it. Like, have you read his book, The 12 Rules for Life?
No, it's on my list of things to get though.
Absolutely. Like I tell everybody, there's Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. A Man Thinketh, 12 Rules for Life, and Psycho-Cybernetics are probably like 4 books that every man should, immediately read or listen to, like nonstop.
What's Cyber-Cybernetics?
Psycho-Cybernetics is all about your perception of yourself. That's it.
Is that by Jordan Peterson?
No, that's an old book. I started by in the 60s. Bo talks about it a lot, and he told me about it in the interview, actually, which is strange. When we were doing the interview, he told me about it, and then afterwards on it, I got my phone, and then it showed up on my phone, Psycho-Cybernetics. I'm like, strange, but that book is all about the perception and how you see yourself, and how it teaching you how to see yourself differently. Seeing that vision of yourself on the mirror. Because just like as a man thinketh, what you believe in your heart is what you'll become.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's from like Proverbs 23:7. So it's strange that even back in the days of Solomon and David, they're talking about mindset. your mindset. Like people think that's a new thing now. No, that's like that's the Proverbs times. That's back. They're talking about mindset and it's strange because back in those days they used to journal. Like they all wrote down their thoughts. David wrote down his psalms. How he felt on it. How he sang, how he danced. Even in the battlefield, he'll do like this. Sing the songs to God. On it. He didn't he was just straight up. He was a G. He didn't care. He was savage. His entire life is savage. On there. So just the little things like that, I think a lot of people miss.
Well, I think too. I know that it affected me with my self-perception. Is back to the pH issue. Like porn. Mm-hmm. That
prawn.
What's that? Yeah, there. I like that better.
Yeah, prawn or cron. We don't want to get shot down here.
Yeah, but I think that gives us a lot of young men a negative self-perception too, because they see these big rippling dudes with baby arms down there, and you know what I mean, and they might look. I know I looked at myself and I'm like, well, I don't compare to these guys, and you know what I mean. So I think it maybe subconsciously it maybe affected me in that way, because I've always had a negative self-perception of myself. You know what I mean. I've never really been given any words of encouragement my whole life, and but now I'm to the point where I have to do it myself, and then I look for inspirational videos and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I think prawn definitely impacts men's self-perception.
Oh yeah, no, it's a big problem on it. It kind of messes your entire perception in your mind, and it does some really problems with your dopamine. Just like when you're a heroin addict, that because your dopamine keeps getting released so long on you, like you can't be happy anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're in a state of depression the whole time, and it just gets worse and worse. I know because I was a cron addict, and it definitely gave it affects you in every single aspect of your life. It's like it's a sickness, like a cancer almost. Well,
also too, I know for me, and I could say it probably still does. It affects my perception of women. I like my ex when I got her, and she had bolt-ons, and so when I get her in the bed and she's got the body of a prawn star, you know what I mean? So I think prawn gives unrealistic expectation of what men think they should get. You know what I mean? Like they want the tall bimbo with the triple D's and things like that. So it affects us in a lot of different ways, and I never even realized that until just very recently.
Yeah, and not just that it also affects how we treat them, what we expect in bed, the things that we're men do, and it definitely changes your mindset. The way instead of evolving, you're just it's just not a good thing in any way.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's move on to something. Tell me your story, your life story. Let's say if you were being interviewed by Bo, start from give me your story, because you heard my story is actually on the channel. It's on Bo's, and I'm gonna have links to everything on here. But tell me your story. I want to hear from the horse's mouth.
All right. I mean, it's got a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs, but we're gonna be here for a while. So
I got nowhere to go, so it's my day off. So you go ahead,
right, brother. So I was born in Utah. My dad is a redneck from Missouri. My mom is from Manila, Philippines. They met while my dad was stationed in Clark Air Force Base in Philippines. And they got divorced when I was just a baby, maybe 1 year old. And so I stayed with my mom, and she was remarried a couple different times, and it's kind of a pretty common story, abusive stepfathers. So the first step that I had, I think his name was Mike. I think I was only probably like 2 or 3 years old, but I remember nothing but being scared all the time. He had some sons, and they used to pick on me, beat me up, and things like that. And then all of a sudden one day he was gone. I don't really remember what happened, but I always knew, like, I hated that situation. Even then, like I said, I was just always scared. And I was, could have been, 3 or 4 years old. And then one day he was gone. And then I got another stepdad. His name was Richard. He was a power lifter in the Air Force. I remember as a kid, our dining room, we had like one of those buffet tables, and it was just covered with trophies. And so, but he was also using steroids, and he was abusive. I think when I was in kindergarten or first grade, he busted the toilet tank with my head. He was in there taking a shower, and I was knocking on the door because I had to go number 2. And I remember I went to, pull down my pants and sat down on the toilet. And I remember him standing, behind the door with a towel covering his privates. And he came up to me. He said, "You little MFer," grabbed my head and bam, like this. And the toilet tank shattered. And I know that messed me up. Like, I don't see how that kind of couldn't. And I don't know, but even though that incident happened, I always looked up to him kind of, because he was a power lifter. He's a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Like he was a strong man, that I looked up to. So I remember even back then, I'd be in pictures and I'd always be flexing and stuff like that. But he had a daughter. She was half Korean. And I remember I used to torment her. And she was a couple years older than me. And me and my sister were talking about this years later, when I was in my 30s and she was in her 40s. And I kind of came to the conclusion that I would take out my frustrations on her for what her dad would do to me. You know what I mean? So we were actually living in Greece at that time. We were stationed in Greece from when I was in kindergarten till the second half of my second grade in elementary school. So about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And then we moved to Virginia. We had to leave Greece because my asthma was real bad over there. I don't know if it was the climate or whatever. My sister told me we ended up leaving Greece because of me and my asthma. But living in Greece was pretty cool. I went to downtown Athens and saw, the Acropolis, the Parthenon. And from a young age, I'd always been interested in ancient history, especially any type of military history, Romans and the Greeks fighting and all that type of stuff. Always anything military, I was, I loved. And I'd always wanted to be a soldier. But me having asthma prevented me from joining the military. So we moved to Virginia, and more abuse from my stepdad. I don't really remember him hitting me anymore after he busted the toilet with my head, but I remember him calling me names a lot and just kind of doing mean things. Like he loved lima beans, and every meal we'd always eat lima beans, and I hated lima beans. So I remember sitting at the table literally for hours, not, because I wasn't eating my lima beans. So I eventually, my third grade year, I went to go live with my dad. He was still stationed in Utah, in Hill Air Force Base, Utah. And I wanted to go live with my dad to kind of escape the abuse of my stepdad. Little did I know that I was leaving one abusive situation for another. So I went to go live with my dad. He was married to a Mormon lady. And so I was actually a baptized Mormon when I was 8. I didn't really know what it was. But now that I'm older, and especially once I became a Christian, I really started researching a lot of other religions and stuff. especially Mormonism, because my oldest sister, she grew up in the Mormon church, and very, very zealous about how she went to a Mormon seminary and everything like that. So I went to go live with my dad in Utah, and a month, I want to say it was either a month or like a couple weeks after I went to go live with him, he went off to war, the first Iraq war, and he was gone for a year. So during that time, I was with my oldest sister, because she'd never lived with my mom. She always stayed with my dad, and so I did have her around, but she suffered a lot of abuse from his wife, the Mormon lady. My sister, she would tell me stories about how she would get grounded and have to live in a tent outside in the backyard for like weeks at a time. Crazy stuff. Or being locked in her room, grounded, not able to leave her room except for to go to church or work during like summer vacation. She couldn't see her friends or do anything, just like really like Cinderella type stuff. You know what I mean? And it was kind of messed up. So my dad, he came back from war after being gone for like a year, and him and his wife, they ended up getting divorced. And then it was just me and my dad, because my sister ended up staying with the Mormon woman. And so me and my dad went and lived in an apartment in Layton, Utah, and he ended up marrying the manager of the apartment, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later. So that was my dad's 5th wife, I think. My dad's on his 6th marriage.
All right.
So I don't want to say I have a negative opinion about marriage. I believe that marriage is a, holy union. I consider marriage to be a sacred institution. And when I was married, I took my marriage seriously, and, but that's another, that'll be later on in the story. But so from Utah, my dad married this woman with 6 kids, and I don't know what the situation was. I actually got in contact with my stepbrother from that marriage earlier this summer. He lives up in Washington, and he's been supporting my channel and everything. And it's nice kind of talking to him. And it's kind of funny. He lived a kind of similar life to me that I did, with, substance abuse, alcoholism, that type of stuff. And so we ended up moving to Missouri with his new wife, and 3 of her kids, my brother, my stepbrother, and then 2 of her daughters. And we got to Missouri, and it was like, I guess my grandpa had left that property in Missouri. We had 5 acres, and there was like 2 mobile homes on it. So we get there, we have to basically rework both trailers or both mobile homes and everything. And so there was a lot of work. And like when I would live with my dad, I don't want to use the word slave, but I was like a sharecropper. I worked the land in exchange for food and shelter. So we went to Missouri. My dad and that lady, they were married for like 9 months. I don't know what happened. And they got divorced. And I remember talking to my stepbrother earlier this summer, and I was like, yeah, dude, I don't know if you remember how my dad was, and, how he was abusive and everything. And he was like, oh yeah, dude, your dad was a special type of asshole. And I hate to admit it, but I have some of those same tendencies. Not so much anymore, especially once, I got born again. A lot of things changed in my life. So they got divorced after 9 months of marriage. One day they were just all gone. I don't remember who it was. And then winter came that year. And it was tough. Like, I don't know, my dad, he was retired from the Air Force, so he was getting his pension. But I think that's like all we had. And plus he was paying off student loans for his stepchildren. He paid for his stepchildren's college to BYU or Brigham Young University in Utah. And so I remember I was a sophomore in high school, and he was like, oh, finally got that student loan paid off 8 years later, so my stepbrother and my stepmom, they were just gone one day, and then winter came, and it was tough winter. Like me and my dad were literally walking down, and I was 9 years old at this time, maybe 9 or 10, and we were literally hunting for our food that year. My dad had a pantry full of like just canned goods, corn, peas and carrots and that type of stuff. And all the meat we ate for that summer, we killed ourselves. A lot of rabbits, a lot of quails. My dad killed a deer that year, and we ate deer for months. And so then my dad hooks up with this big, gigantic lady. I don't know what was he thinking. She was big as a house, dude, but man, she could cook.
There it is.
I think so.
There it is. There it is. Hey, you see a woman that's big? That's a woman that can cook.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want a very good home cooked meal. Come on.
Yeah, and my dad, he's a bit of a horn dog too, so he'll stick it to pretty much anything. Obviously, because I was like,
oh man, hey,
yeah.
What is it to keep the men happy? Full stomach and empty balls.
Empty balls and a full stomach, yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, he ended up cheating on her with my current stepmom. So, yeah, dude. Like I said, my views on marriage are a little skewed, but
Yeah, I could see why. I could see why you look at marriage and go, maybe that's not for me.
Yeah. No, I mean. Yeah, there was a time in my life when I kind of thought that, but when I got married, I'll get to that later. So he ended up cheating on that big lady with my current stepmom, and my current stepmom, she came from a very good family in Missouri. I guess my dad met her at the bank. She was a bank teller, and she had horses. So he ended up she was asking him where can she get some hay for her horses and stuff, and he's like, I got a guy, I know one of my neighbors and stuff, and that's how they ended up hooking up. So I don't know, I want to say maybe 3 months after my dad was cheating on him with his girlfriend with this woman, he gets married to her. So now he's on his sixth marriage.
Just racking him up, trying to get you in the Guinness Book of Records, probably.
Dude, when I went to go when I left Virginia and I left my mom to go live with my dad, from 3rd grade to 6th grade, I had 3 stepmoms and 1 live-in girlfriend. So
you can't even make that up. You can't.
I know, right? It's I don't know. I don't really know anybody else who's been married 6 times. I don't know anybody.
I don't think there's too many people that want to go through marriage 6 times.
Yeah. And then, all the divorces and all that stuff. But I understand now kind of why my dad did that, because throughout my 20s and early 30s, I kind of followed the same pattern. It's just weird. But so I have a greater understanding of why. The difference between he and I is I recognize the issue and I recognize the pattern. I put a stop to it. So he gets married to this chick, my stepmom. She comes from a good family in Missouri, a town called Columbia, Missouri, where the University of Missouri is. My step-grandma and step-grandpa, they were great. My step-grandpa, we called him Big Dad, and her name was Nina. So it was Nina and Big Dad. That was their nicknames. My step-grandpa, he was 6'3". They always called him Big Jim. World War II vet. He fought in the Battle of the Bulge. Wow. He was an MP at the Nuremberg trials after the war.
Oh, really?
Yes. And then so one day when General Patton was coming in to watch the trials, my grandpa was at the gate or at the door and was like, "Sorry, General, but we can't allow you in with your pistols." He had the ivory hand or pearl handled pistols, and he actually had to confiscate them from General Patton.
Oh, wow.
And another funny story is my grandpa was so involved with the trial that he was leaning on his rifle like this, just captivated by what was going on. They had to stop the trial because they were worried that he was leaning on his rifle, that it might misfire and
kill him.
So they ended up actually stopping the trial. And his unit was one of the first units, or the first division, to cross the Ruhr River into Germany. And he also came across some of the first concentration camps discovered by the Americans.
Oh man!
So he was in the front lines, dude. He, like, one of the things my dad would, during the summer times, I would go over to Big Dad and Nina's house, and mow their lawn. And after I would get done mowing the lawn, me and Big Dad would sit out on his big porch outside in the backyard, and Nina would make me lunch, typically just like a sandwich or sandwich and chips. And he would tell me war stories, dude. And I would love it. Like I said, I've always been, military history, no matter what genre, what age, anything. I was always captivated by it. So my stepmom, she came from a good family, and my dad and her are still married today. They live in Colorado. But so since she had horses and my dad had 5 acres of land, once they got married, we all lived together. She moved in, and they ended up buying a new mobile home and everything. And this is when a lot of I wouldn't say bad things, but in a way, yeah, kind of. Like I said, I was like a sharecropper. I worked the land in exchange for food and shelter. And, putting up 5 acres of barbed wire fence with my dad is not fun.
Doesn't sound like fun.
No, especially in the Missouri heat during the Missouri summer, trying to dig in that Missouri clay.
Oh, I know about digging in heat. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've been there.
Right. So, yeah, but I'm also in 5th grade doing this. I'm digging post holes and,
yeah, I remember
all that stuff.
My uncle had a farm, and we used to plant plantains.
Yeah,
and those things are so big, like the seeds to plant them, because they're. Yeah, I remember we were same age.
Okay.
We'd be out there for 12 hours. We'd be like, oh, we thought we'd be going out for fun. Now we'd be working for 12 hours straight, a whole weekend, and then come back and we're like, why are we doing this? Why?
Yeah. And so I'm kind of, in a way, I'm glad that my dad worked me the way he did, because that made me have the work ethic that I have now. Mm-hmm. I'm always one of the hardest workers at the shops. I may not be one of the best welders at the shops, but I'm always one of the guys who gets stuff done and make sure I can produce the best quality products, to my abilities. And I'm pretty good. I'm a good welder, fitter, and fabricator. You know what I mean? Most of my supervisors always love me. So then we moved down to Central Missouri to be by her parents, and built more fences, built more corrals, built more arenas and stuff like that. So, but all during that time, my dad was very hard on me, strict disciplinarian. And I understand why his dad was worse to him than my dad was to me. My dad had a very, very abusive father. I never met my grandpa. He actually stepped on a down power line and got electrocuted. And my grandma said that he thinks that he haunts the property. That when I told you we very first moved to Missouri and my grandpa gave him that land, my grandma believes that her husband, my grandpa, haunts that property, because he wasn't a good person. He was very abusive to her too. And there was some supernatural experiences. My sisters and my stepsisters, they definitely experienced some haunting type stuff on that property. I never did, but they both did. So all during that time when I was growing up as a kid in Missouri, I'm an Asian kid growing up in redneck Missouri, dude. But, I used to love riding horses. My stepmom taught me how to ride. And for fun, I used to stick a pitchfork in the ground, and would take my lariat and on my horse and ride and rope pitchforks and stuff just for fun. But a lot of bullying, Chang Chong, Gook, Slant Eye, Charlie, all that good stuff. So I did a fair amount of fighting growing up as a kid against some rednecks and everything, which, every kid does. But the abuse with my father was a lot of it was mental, a lot of it was very verbal. He would hardly ever say my name without putting GD before it. And you know what I mean? Like I remember
that's the military right there.
Yeah, yeah. But once I became a Christian, I learned the impact of words and how they're cursed words. They're cursed words for a
Yeah.
reason. You know what I mean? My dad cursed my name every day, and I think a lot of that, in a sense, led to my little tribulations in my life. And so all the abuse came to an end one day. We were eating dinner, and he asked me to pass him the butter. And before I passed him the butter, I took a scoop of butter, and he's like, "GD, Mark." And he grabs a bottle of ketchup, just like a plastic bottle of ketchup, and he smacks it over me. And ketchup goes all over, bust the bottle all over me. And we had like white carpets in our kitchen, or in our living room, which was adjacent to the kitchen. And of course, then he smacks me. I go to the ground, clean it up, clean it up. And while I'm on the ground cleaning it up, I'm crying and stuff. I think I'm like 14 or something. And, he's kicking me in my ass and, pushing me on the ground with his feet and everything, and smacking me. And, growing up in Missouri as a kid, I had a lot of guns. I had an 8mm Mauser, a 1946 8mm Mauser. I had a Chinese SKS assault rifle, 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 410, and I think 322 rifles. And I was a good shot. My dad trained me military. We had it was probably about a 70-yard firing range, because when we moved down to central Missouri, we had almost 13 acres of land. And, so during the summertime, my parents would be at work. I'm down over the hill at the range, shooting a brick of 22s every week. So I became a pretty good shot. And, well, it all came to an end when he was whooping me that night. And I told him, if you hit me again, I'm going to blow your head off in your sleep. And later, and then he stopped, and he, kind of back, because I didn't say it nice like how I just described it to you. I yelled it at the top of my lungs. I cussed him and everything. And, my dad did never allow me to cuss, and my stepmom neither. And, you ever hit me again, I'm going to blow your head off in your sleep. And he made me empty out my gun cabinet, put all my guns in his room. And 2 weeks later, I spent, it was around Thanksgiving. I spent the last Thanksgiving with Nina and Big Dad, and they didn't want to see me go. I told them too what was going on with my dad. My dad even said, I remember one day he's telling me, "Oh, you didn't make any friends," telling him everything. Well, it's like, forget you, dude. I want people to know how you really are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I left, and I went back to Virginia to go live with my mom. I didn't like Virginia as a high schooler. Like, I didn't fit in at all. I mean, dude, when I was in Missouri, I used to wear, Wranglers and Ropers, dress, and they used to call me the Korean cowboy, making fun of me and stuff.
Yeah.
And
then you go to Virginia.
And then I go to Virginia, where it's, like hip hop, Missy Elliott and, Timbaland and Magoo, they're all coming up, early, mid 90s. So, hip hop's pretty prevalent in the, music world right now at that point. And I just didn't fit in. I didn't hardly make any friends. I made a couple friends over there, but my sisters, who were living outside of Chicago in a city out about an hour west, it's called Rockford. They were like, "Do you want to come live with us?" And they were only 21 and 22 at the time. And both my parents were like, "Yeah, go live with them." That's like, I think about that now. I'm like, what were you guys thinking, letting your 15-year-old son go and, live with his 21 and 22-year-old daughter or sisters,
Yeah.
They sold me the lie of, "Oh, we'll take care of you, you'll be okay. We'll take you school shopping," and all that type of stuff. None of that happened. The only reason they brought me over there, or invited me to go over there, was to be a babysitter for my niece, basically. My oldest sister, she had I think a 2-year-old daughter. Her name's Pokey. Well, her nickname's Pokey. She's 25 now, or 26 now, and she still lives in that same town. And so I went to Rockford, and that's when I no longer had parental supervision. It was game on at that point. And when I moved to Rockford, I was able to make friends because, Well, for one, I always played football. I played football from, seventh grade until my senior year in high school. And so, I was making friends. It was, beginning of the school year, I'm playing football, and I was a good football player. I played center, offensive line. And, I was always I made friends because after Friday night football, everybody come to my house. I don't live with my family. I don't live with parents. You guys come over here. So that's when I started drinking and smoking weed. So I'm 15, and, it wasn't long before I started dealing weed myself because, my sisters, they didn't do what they said they were going to do. They never took me school shopping. It's kind of the same situation as when I was a kid. I had to do a job, which was babysitting, in exchange for food and shelter. So, I started dealing weed off and on because my sister's baby daddy, he's Mexican, and all his family are Latin Kings. And I would get bud from them and everything. Probably, not much here and there, but enough to my senior year is when I kind of started getting pounds. And, I was breaking down pounds into quarters and dimes and everything. So that was enough for me to smoke, plus, pay for my cell phone and buy clothes. And then I also did a couple other crimes that I don't want to get into detail about.
A couple other things.
Yeah.
That you need to place the fifth.
Yeah.
The fifth.
But, it's like I didn't have parents. I didn't have a male role model until my other sister, she started dating a coke dealer. And he's
there we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm telling you, my sisters, they're geniuses. So he ended up, he's actually my nephew's dad now. My nephew just graduated from high school this year. I want to get him to come to the Philippines because he's a good looking kid, man. So when I get over there, I'm going to hit him up, be like, man, you need to come Philippines with me, dude. You can be a model over here or, do something.
Yeah.
So, my not my oldest sister, but the middle sister, she started dating a coke dealer. And he, it's just like you see in the movies, who do you look up to? You look up to the guy that's got, the BMW and got the car,
money,
got the gold chain, and you know what I mean? And he was cool. Plus he's got a good personality and everything. And,
as long as it's a nice coke dealer. So yeah,
I mean, but you have to be nice and you have to also, do dirt too.
Mm-hmm.
But, so he kind of became, my male role model. And, when I think about my life and, how I kind of, began how I started living from the age of 15 until basically now, I just recognize how important it is to have good role models around you, male role models around you that will steer you in the right way.
Yeah.
Because in a way, I kind of, with the abuse from my dad and plus my stepfathers, I've always yearned for like a big brother type. So I always gravitate to older guys, older men, especially, the people in my Bible study, man, I always gravitate to older men because I feel like I've missed out on so many lessons in my life that I'm looking for the information. I'm looking for the lessons.
I think all men do. There's older men supposed to be our elders. Those are the ones that we supposed to look up to, because as we're getting older, they're already gotten older. So, when we're 40, they're in their 60s and 70s, so they're able to impart that other knowledge.
Yeah.
When you get to that level,
Because they already been through it.
Yeah.
They have the good advice about women and dating and careers and things like that, money management.
And then when they move over to be on the elderly side, they give you that extra, because I guess there's stages in life. We go through 2 seasons, and older men they're already on the season before us, so they're able to, give us the wisdom that we need when we get there. If you find the right man for it.
Yeah. So, so my sister, she's dating a coke dealer, and one of my buddies from high school. And I was still selling weed at this time and everything. I'm 17. Yeah, I'm 16, 17 selling weed. And yeah, I'm still 17. And one of my buddies from high school, he's like, he knew somebody that wanted some cocaine. And I was like, well, shoot, I can get it. And I started dealing. Me and my buddy, we started dealing, we started out with breaking a 50 down into 320s. And then my brother, my sister's boyfriend, then he started fronting me 8 balls because he kind of saw that he saw from how I was with dealing weed from my other sister's baby daddy. He was the one giving me pounds, and he knew I was like paying because he would front me the pounds. I was getting pounds for like 500, 550. And he knew that, my priority was always, making sure I get the re-up money or the front money back to my my niece's dad. So my coke dealer, my sister's coke dealer boyfriend, he recognized that, okay, he's doing his little thing. He felt like he could trust me, front me 8 balls.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, hey, you're doing such a wonderful job. We're going to promote you to coke dealer now.
I know, exactly.
Weed is I think you're outgrown weed. Let's go into something a little harder.
Yeah.
Something that, gives you a 25 to life. Let's go with some coke.
Yeah. And so I started getting 8 balls from him. And me and my buddy, we started, slanging together. But after maybe a couple months, my friend, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because he wasn't a thug. He wasn't thugged out or anything. And I really wasn't thugged out or anything. I was just like a normal kid, just kind of doing it because nobody was telling me no. And also,
nobody says no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I wasn't trying to go work at McDonald's. I didn't have a car. I didn't, you know what I mean? So I don't want to say it was my only option because, you hear that, oh, it was my only option. You always have other options. But as an impressionable.
That was the easiest option for you to do.
And, it was cool. It's cool to be a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I can see the cool factor in it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, when you're 17 years old and all you do is listen to rap music, it's like, oh.
That's true. There you go.
You know what I mean? So.
You're about the life.
Yeah. It's like, it's exciting. You know what I mean? And I think, because my sister, she's got 2 babies by 2 drug dealers. 2 separate drug dealers. And it's like, I see why women can be attracted to that type of lifestyle because that element of danger. But
yes, danger, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, both my sisters, they're both G's too, But anyway, so I'm slinging, and my friend tells me he doesn't want to do it anymore, and I'm like, shoot, cool. Now I don't have to split the money anymore. You know what I mean? But it was good to have a team, to have somebody there that's got your back. So now I don't have that. Now I'm solo. But then my sister and her coke dealer boyfriend, they get a house together, and then of course I move in there with them, and I rent the basement. I'm paying like $200 a month. Plus I'm working a little telecommunication job. But then my sister, she's the manager of a jewelry store, and so I'm getting hooked up on jewelry and stuff. So I got not diamond rings. I got rings and bracelets.
So you're all about that life. You're just straight up thug now.
No, but I would wear ties and dress shirts because of my telemarketing job.
Oh, I mean, you're the well-dressed thug that we see in movies. A gangster. You're straight up gangster now. You're just not. You're straight up G. You're like thug. No, man, I'm a G.
Also too, I became more bold because now I'm living with my sister's boyfriend. We're all living together, so I was kind of like his little pit bull. Plus, from football, I was always lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
So I was decent shape and everything. And I always had anger inside of me. And so I always wanted to hurt people. I mean, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like my brother-in-law's like little pit bull, I definitely had chased off dope heads off our porch with broom handles and stuff before. And plus, when he's out all day serving his customers, I'm riding shotgun with him.
Servitude. He's doing some service.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's training up a little protege, kind of, So,
oh man.
Now, we're doing that. I'm living in that house with them for about a year. And then my sister and her boyfriend, they want to move to California. So my brother-in-law, he had built up quite a clientele list. He wasn't the type that was serving on the corners or anything. All his customers, were homeowners and, business owners. And, one of them was my garbage man. He ended up being my garbage man one day.
Your garbage man.
So, he wasn't serving broke people. He was serving people with decent, jobs and stuff, working class people, I guess. So they end up moving to California. So I told my brother-in-law, I'm like, well, I want you to sell me your business, sell me your clientele list. And so he does. Before the last week and a half, 2 weeks that before they moved to California, I was riding around with him everywhere he went. I had quit my job. And because at that time I had me a good little client list too. I was probably selling maybe about a half ounce of cocaine a week, in 20s and 50s. So I'm 17 years old. I'm making $900,000 a week, probably.
Okay.
In that age or in that range. So I'm not doing too bad. I got, about 6 or 7 pretty decent customers that I'm doing my thing. And so when they moved to California, I'm like, I'll give you 10 grand for your clientele list. And he's like,
damn.
Sure.
10 G's, just like.
Well, I didn't have the 10 grand, it was going to be,
but,
he was
like,
going
he's going to, you're going to make that up for him.
Yeah. He knew I was going to make that, because he made, like I said, dude, I would ride around with him all the time. And so I knew the kind of money he was making. And so I knew that I would get it back. He did ask, he was like, are you sure? I don't know if maybe you want to get into this big. I don't know if it's for you. And I was like, well, shoot. I mean, what else am I doing? And basically I wanted to go to aircraft maintenance school. But I didn't know about student loans. I didn't know about any of that stuff. My dad, he sure wasn't going to help me. He wasn't going to pay for my college after he had to pay for somebody else's kid's college.
Yeah.
No way am I doing that again. You know what I mean?
So, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice.
Exactly. But, so I already knew I wasn't going to get any, and like I said, I was just kind of, there was no positive type of male role model in my life. So, I'm doing my thing and he's like, all right. So the last 2 weeks before they moved to California, I'm riding around with him. He's telling all his people, they already knew who I was because they always see me with him. But he was like, okay, you're going to start calling him. So I started giving them my number and, exchanging. And my brother-in-law would tell me, okay, you can front him, but only front him, 250s or, kind of telling me what to expect out of each one of the people. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Telling me the game with his clients. So, they move and I had already gotten a townhouse. I had a roommate. He was a buddy from high school, but I didn't hang out with thugs. I was just like, I was a jock that kind of went into this life. You know what I mean? And, my friends, they were, they still lived at home playing video games and, they'd come over to my house, me and my roommate's townhouse and, we'd smoke weed and drink because I always kept like a half a pound of weed in the freezer just for me to smoke on. Plus I would sell them, their dime bags or whatever. And then plus I always had liquor because if ever I wanted liquor, when I would go meet up one of the clients, I'd be like, here, you got to come to the liquor store with me. I need you to buy me some booze. because I'm only now I'm just I'm only 18 right now.
Okay.
So my house was the party house, which ended up being, leading to my demise. So I'm doing my thing, and the money's coming in. I'm making probably $3,000, $3,500 a week, and I'm 18. I got a nice car. I souped up my car. I got rims on it and everything. But
priorities,
well, I was emulating. My sister's boyfriend.
You would do whatever you saw. That's what whatever you see. That's usually what happens.
In fact, I bought, because he had 3 different cars. I bought the same. He had a Ford Taurus SHO. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a Ford Taurus SHO. I bought a Ford Taurus SHO, and I had it, decked out and everything, upgraded. Did a bunch of upgrades and everything, and the money's coming in, and I end up going to visit my sister and her boyfriend in California with the $10,000. I had the $10,000, and I was flying out there to give it to him. And plus, see my sister, visit them and everything. And we had a good time in California. And after about a month after I got back, we just had a party at my house. I had heard one of my friends, a guy I went to high school with, I was selling him some weed. I went over to his house, and he got in the car, and I was selling him some weed. He was like, "Hey man, I know this dude," and I knew who the individual was. He's like, "They're looking to rob you." And I was like, "What?" I had never thought about that aspect. I never thought about stick up men. Because when I was with my brother, I felt like the two of us, we were invincible. Ain't nobody gonna mess with us. You know what I mean? But now he's gone, and I'm in the town all by myself. And so I was like, all right, I appreciate that, everything. And he tells me, who it is, what they are planning to do and stuff. And I'm like, all right. So I had to re-up. I was getting quarter keys for $5,800, and I was paying cash. There was no more getting fronts. And I was getting fish scale, good stuff. And and my guy, my re-up guy, he was Latin King. And I told him, and he was like, here, he pulled out a little 25 out of his boot. And he's like, here, you want this? I'm like, no, man, I want something bigger. And he's like, all right, I'll call you up in a couple of days when I got something for you. I'm like, all right, because I got to get strapped now, because I was never carrying before. You
got money now. You got some real. Well, I mean, you have some real money now. If you're moving the money, that much keys and stuff, you need to strap, because it's going to be your life.
I was selling about a quarter key. I would break it down into 50s and 8 balls, and I would sell a quarter key in like 3 weeks. With my clientele list, and then with the addition of my brother-in-law's people that he gave me, that I paid him the $10,000 for. So
at least that list worked out pretty good.
Yeah. But I about 3 days after that, I had just copped a quarter key. I had already sold about 2.5 ounces, and we had a get together at my house, because there was always guys at my house and everything. And I was tired from serving all day. I left everybody, and I went to bed. I went upstairs and went to bed. I wake up in the morning, and there's a black dude at the end of my bed pointing a Tech 9 at me. And I look at him, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I immediately got out of bed and I tackled him. And we're fighting, boom, boom, boom. And he's smacking me on the back of my head with the Tech 9. I got the scars. I had 28 staples. You can't really see it with my hair, but it looked like Wolverine from the comics. Yeah. It looks like he slashed the back of my head. I got 2 scars down here. And then, the nub on a Tech 9, the nub that sticks out to cock it back. Mm-hmm. I got that mark right on this side of my head. So I had 28 staples in the back of my head. Well, let me finish telling that. So I tackle him, and I had some throwing knives on my dresser, but I don't know, like I was
throwing knives. This dude went straight ninja, man.
But I didn't remember them being there. I don't know. There was a guy at the end of my bed. My knives weren't in reach, so I just tackled him. I took the ground, and we're fighting, and he's smacking me on the back of the head. I lived in a two-story townhouse.
Mhm.
And so right outside my bedroom was the stair. And so there was a stair rail right there. We end up standing up, and I threw him over the stair rail. And I almost went over with him. But one of my friends grabbed me and pulled me back. And I looked at him like, "You've been here this whole time?"
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, wait, hold on, your friend pulled you back? What is he doing? Was he like World Star, like the whole time? World Star?
Like I said, dude, they were just normal guys. They weren't into any type of crime or.
Oh, but hey, that's your boy, man.
Exactly, though.
In the Puerto Rican, I guess as a Puerto Rican though, like, I see my boy, man. He tackle somebody, I'm running in there. It's not about that life. It's about that, that loyalty though. But
that's how I. Hold on a second, dude. I got to plug my laptop in real quick. It's about to run out of battery.
All right, you go ahead.
Be right
good.
back. Yeah, I saw my screen was starting to go dim a little bit. So
yeah.
So
yeah.
So my friend grabs me and pulls me back from going over the rail with him. And I looked at him, but then I remember I went running down the stairs after that guy, and I just ended up like stumbling and falling down the stairs, and I'm covered in blood. My head's bleeding and everything, and so dude, there was like 4 of my friends in the house at that time. My roommate was in the bedroom right next door to me.
So they were all like, he got it. He good.
Well, I think about half of them were in on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I get down, I stand up. The robbers, because there was one guy downstairs. One of my other friends told me that there was another guy downstairs, and then the guy upstairs with the gun. Mm-hmm. They both ran out of the house, and I'm covered in blood. And my roommate's like, "You got to go to the hospital. You got to go to the hospital." Excuse me. And so I get to the hospital, and they're like, "What happened? What happened?" I told them I got into a fight. Excuse me. I told them, I got into a fight at my house, and I don't really remember everything I said. I remember I told them I got into a fight, and they were like, "Okay, well, since it was an act of violence, we have to call the police." I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I call my roommate, and I tell him, I'm like, "Hey man," I told him where my dope was. I told him, "Go outside and throw it in the dumpsters outside." And so he does. He's like, "Okay." So the cops come, after they're stapling up my head, the cops come, and the cop, he figured me out right away. And I had some bracelets on and everything. I had thrown them in a bag to kind of avoid him figuring me out. Mm-hmm. And he figured me out right away. He was like, "I think this was a drug deal gone wrong." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I talked to your friend in the hallway. He said there was a bunch of talking going on before the fight happened." And I just didn't say anything. And so they go back to my house, my townhouse with the roommate. And my roommate takes them right to my dope. They found 6.5 ounces of cocaine, a scale. Plus I probably had like 7 or 8 50s bagged up, which would have been about another 1/4 ounce. And they arrested me.
Damn.
And so I went to county. I called my sister. I was like, "Yeah, I'm in county. I got busted." And she flew back right away. And then I got bail. My dad sent $2,000. My mom sent $2,000, and then my sister and her boyfriend, they paid for the rest. And I was out on bail for about 2 months, and then the judge gave me an 8-year sentence. So I turned 19 in the county, and then I didn't get out until I was 23. Which, you know, in today's day and age, I think people. So when you go away, when you have to do time and stuff, you learn how to. You're forced to conduct yourself in a certain manner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can't walk around being a punk. You can't walk around disrespecting people. You can't just say whatever you want. You know, all that type of stuff. But that's where I learned how to weld. Was actually in the joint. Mm-hmm. So about my last year and a half, I spent in the welder cage. You've heard of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club?
Yeah.
So one of the guys who trained me to weld was a big outlaw named Cowboy. He was 6'3", stereotypical shaved head, bushy beard down to here, all tatted up. He was an outlaw. And then my buddy Chris, he was a Northsider. A Northsider is a white prison gang in Illinois. But I mean, and like in a couple of my videos, I mentioned I feel like I have had divine protection over my life. And this is one of the instances where I believe that God was definitely looking out for me. So I had to do 3.5 years, but I had it as good as it gets. Minimum security. I'm a first-time offender, nonviolent drug case. So I'm in a minimum security. And this is the only time being Asian ever helped me. I got immediately placed into the work camp, which was like dorms. So we had like our own single cubicles. So I didn't really have to, have cellmates and things like that. So, but that's where I learned how to weld. And then, so I didn't get out till I was 23. So I was locked up from 19 to 23. And I learned how to weld. And as soon as I got out, all I was waiting to get, like my birth certificate, social security card. And then I got a job welding right away. A lot of my friends from high school, they were getting out of college, going back to live at home with mom. And I'm getting out of prison and I got my own apartment. I'm going to school and I'm working out. Like, you should have seen me when I got out, dude. I was big. And so I was out 23, and then I hooked up with this girl. She was 18, and that was a nightmare. That was a super toxic relationship for the next 2 years, and I spent a lot of time
on that.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, completely.
So I spent a lot of time moving around northern Illinois, and moving around northern Illinois, getting different jobs and stuff. But I got a lot of good welding experience, and I never got back into dealing drugs or anything again. And well, can't really say that because I did cop a pound of weed one time. And I was struggling, and
yeah, no, I get it. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but it didn't work out very well. I ended up copping this pound when I lived in Milwaukee, and up in Milwaukee, they're like weed snobs, and I was getting schwiggity, and they're like, we don't want this. I'm like, what are you talking about?
This is not organic.
Yeah.
I could sense that this was plugged 48 hours ago. We only smoke from 12 or below. I'm sorry. It's not green enough.
Well, so after me and my girl broke up, I had kind of a crazy summer because the entire time with her, I didn't, since she wasn't 21, that meant I wasn't 21. So, I never really went out to bars. Plus, I kind of just really wasn't trying to hang out with any of the guys that I went to high school with because, the day I got busted, all those guys in my house, they got arrested too. And they all wrote statements on me. Oh, yeah, he's a big drug dealer, this and that.
So they
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I didn't really hang out with those guys. So that's kind of where my state of loneliness really began because, being locked up, of course you're lonely. I wasn't a gang member, but you meet guys from your town and then you meet other cool guys and you have your own little cliques. Plus I was a workout guy. So I had my workout clique, and I ended up becoming really good friends with this guy. And cause we ended up getting out on the same day, St. Patrick's Day of 2006. So when he found out that I was getting out on the same day as him, we just kind of clicked up, and we became friends. And I just talked to him earlier this summer too. He's been in and out a couple times. He lives in California, but that's another story. So that summer after me and my ex broke up, I was going to the bars constantly. I was getting jumped a lot, and I was so full of rage and anger. Like I would just punch the wall, punch tables and things like that. That summer, I actually ended up having to learn how to weld left-handed because my right hand was so jacked up from being an idiot. You know what I mean? Just because I wasn't able to hold a welding glove because I was punching walls and stuff all the time. And, just drinking, just drink. And so from the time that from being in the joint until basically up until pretty recently, there was always a perpetual state of loneliness in my life. Always looking, always, like I said, gravitating towards older men and plus always looking for a woman. I had mentioned in one of my videos that I think I was always looking for a woman to save me and, to take away that loneliness that I always kind of had. Because like my mom, she loves me. I know she loves me. But I don't want to say anything that's going to make her sound bad, but she doesn't really have the words to say.
No, yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean? She's very stoic. When I talked about in my video dating a Filipina, how Filipinas don't like when you show weakness. My mom doesn't like that either. I've cried in front of my mom, and there's been times where she's like, "Stop crying, you're a man." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I get it like that. It's kind of, especially when you're talking about your mother and, what is the Mike Tyson talks about? Like, we're always looking for that love that our mother gives us, but nobody can love you like your mom can love you.
Yeah.
So you're always trying to attain something that you can't have, which is like, your mother's love on another woman. That's never going to happen. That's it.
Exactly.
There's only one person that's going to love you that way. And that's it.
So that summer I ended up getting jumped a lot because of my ex and other things too. So I was just like, I'm out of here. I got off parole in 2009, and that bitch, she tried sending me back to the joint a lot. Her and her dad. They tried getting me locked up a couple times. So it was tough. I had to go to court several times because of them. But they were always lying. So that's why you know what I mean? I always had the truth on my side. So that was one thing that always saved my ass. And that's kind of, that's why I always just want to be able to tell the truth. And you know what I mean? Because the truth never changes. Their lies always changed. So I ended up moving during the Obama crash. I ended up moving by Milwaukee because there wasn't a lot of jobs going on in the country. A lot of places were, laying guys off and stuff. So I ended up going to this little hick down in Wisconsin, and I got a job there. And there was guys coming from all over the state, working at that shop because they had a military contract. And that was like one of the few places that was actually hiring guys, like trying to get guys. So there was guys coming from all over. And I loved my time in Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a cool town. There's lots to do. The winters suck, but the food is good up there. Plus, everybody's
I've been down there before. I've been to Milwaukee. The cheese, like they talk about the syrup, like the maple syrup, the cheese, the different from Wisconsin. I was there. I went there into the winter. I remember I was back. I don't know how many years ago. I was a little kid. First time I saw snow, went up there, and it was so cold. I mean, went from Puerto Rico to Milwaukee,
Big difference in climate.
Oh my God. But it was fun. I still remember those times.
So in Milwaukee, I mean, I was already an alcoholic by that point, but everybody in Milwaukee drinks. Everybody in Wisconsin drinks. So my drinking really picked up then. Plus, just the food was really good up there. Like I lived in Milwaukee for a little over 4 years. And I don't think I ever went to like a chain restaurant because there were so many good local spots, you know, that, family owned joints and stuff. So, my time in Milwaukee was real good. Met a good group of friends. Unfortunately, actually, I only have one remaining friend from Milwaukee up there. Lost a couple friends due to religious beliefs, and then also I just lost a friend earlier this summer due to the overturning of Roe, the abortion issue, which kind of sucked because she was like my very first friend up there. But so in Milwaukee, I played semi-pro football for a year and a half, or for a season and a half. It was fun. Ended up playing linebacker. It was a learning curve, but I was real strong. I was big. That's when I was benching 275 for 5, and I had a roommate from my job, and he played semi-pro football, and he was like, "Man, you should come play football." Now he's 300 pounds, and we played NFL rules. And I'm looking at him and his friend's a big black dude, vice lord from Chicago. He's probably 350. He's like, "Yeah, come play football." And I'm like, "Play football with you guys?" Because I didn't think of myself as big, but they're like, "Dude, you're big as hell. Come play football." So it was fun. It was a great way to spend the summer. And it was a bit of a learning curve because I went from playing offensive line to playing linebacker. So I wasn't as good as a lot of the other guys, but eventually I ended up becoming a starter. We went to the conference championship. I got an interception and a fumble recovery. I got 2 fumble recoveries that year. And an interception for like a 15-yard return. And, but yeah, due to the climate of Milwaukee, and plus, the dating scene up in Milwaukee is kind of hard. I don't want to sound like a black pill guy, but you don't in Milwaukee, at least in my experience, you didn't really see a lot of interracial couples. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've actually my father was worked down there for a while on there, and there is a little bit of that where, they're, I guess you could go segregated a little bit in some instances. I mean, the people are nice.
Yeah, people are nice.
But if you're not white, it's it's
different. Like Milwaukee has been labeled. I heard it several times when I lived up there that Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities in the country. And when I got there, it was true. But I ended up dating like a couple girls. Oh, one girlfriend I had up there, she was actually from here in Arizona, a town called Gilbert, and she was Mexican too. So it was like, that worked out for me. And but my last year in Milwaukee, the winter was it was like -40 wind chill that year. That winter. And I was depressed a lot in Milwaukee just because of the winters, lots of my alcoholism really shot up there. I would buy a 1.75 liter, the handle of vodka, and I would drink that in 2 days, just killing my liver.
Killing yourself.
And easily, if I wasn't drinking vodka, I down a 12-pack in a night every night, and go to work the next day. And so from Milwaukee, my sister was living in Minnesota. She was with a union pipe fitter guy up there, and they were breaking up. So I was like, well, come to Milwaukee, come stay with me. And I didn't know, but I kind of knew, but I wasn't sure of it. But she was addicted to Adderall. She was Adderall pillhead, which is basically just prescribed meth.
Yeah, it's just meth. Yeah,
it's just meth, but in a pill. But she thought that
pharmaceutical grade.
There you go. And she thought that since she got it from a doctor, that it wasn't the same. But yeah, dude. You talk about tweaker. My sister was an absolute tweaker. And so she came to live with me for like a couple of weeks, and she ended up stealing like $300 out of my wallet. And then my niece, my 26-year-old niece, well, she was only like 15 or 16 at the time. I thought that my niece took it. So I was like, get out of my house, call your dad, have him come get you. But it was actually my sister. And my sister let my niece take the fall for that, which I thought was super dirty.
Damn.
Well, so my sister gets to Milwaukee. She's tweaker and all pilled out. I just thought that she was just being weird. I didn't really know what extent it was, what was really happening at that time. And she's like, well, I'm going to go live with mom in Virginia. And I liked Milwaukee, but I was tired of being alone. That just, that was 2013. So for the past 4 years, I had just been a lonely guy, a lonely alcoholic. And so I was like, well, if you're going to Virginia, I'm coming too. She didn't want me to come. And but she played it off, right? So we drive to Virginia, and we get to Virginia, and about a week after we got there, she starts this huge fight with me because she's all tweaked out. She's all pilled out. My sister, she does this.
Oh, the weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that a few times. That's yeah.
That's what she always does. That's how I know when she's tweaking.
Mm-hmm.
She does that number.
We have a few people at work. We had a couple temps at work that have that.
Yeah, that same little tick.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to Virginia, and she starts an argument with me after being there for like a week, and it sucks because I wanted to go to Virginia to be with my mom. Mm-hmm. She'd been out of my life. Well, not out of my life, but I hadn't lived anywhere near her since I left home at 7. Since I left her at 7. And I, just always being lonely. I was like, man, I want to go. Oh, I want to go and be with mom too. And but my sister, she went to mom's house because she didn't have anywhere else to go. She didn't want to get a job. She couldn't hold a job and whatever. So she starts this big argument with me, and it's my stepdad's house. My stepdad, he's a good guy. Him and my mom, they've been married for 30 years now, and mm-hmm. He's a good guy. He treats her well, and he's a very mild-mannered guy. He's quick to forgive, and he's a bit of a cornball, but he's a good guy. He likes to tell stupid little dad jokes or whatever.
Yeah, that's good.
But a good guy, and he treats my mom well, so I'm grateful for that. Now, so I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to leave. So I went from being lonely in Wisconsin and being 20 hours away from my mom to moving to Virginia and being lonely and 10 minutes from my mom. And it was like, I didn't want to go over there because I didn't want to see my sister. I didn't want to argue in my stepdad's house, and, I didn't want to cause drama. And plus they all
mm-hmm.
know I'm an alcoholic. And plus my sister's very convincing, you know what I mean? She's pretty conniving in certain areas. And so I just kind of didn't see my mom, didn't talk to her. And plus I was a little mad at my mom too. I'm like, why do you always believe her? You don't see that she's a drug addict? I said, yeah, I'm an alcoholic, but look at her. So I ended up getting my own place and, bouncing around in a couple of roommates, because Virginia is kind of weird. People are weird there. It's the East Coast. Plus there's people from, all different parts of the country there, because there's a lot of military bases there, And so, my alcoholism went up there, just steady drinking. But I was in the gym a lot too. I was getting buff just because I didn't have anything else to do. I needed to do something. Plus there was other guys at work. I had a great job in Virginia. I loved my job there. And there was guys at work that were working out all the time.
So when did the drinking stop then? How did was that when you got saved or something happened?
That happened when I got married. And in Virginia is where I met my wife, my Puerto Rican wife. So after a couple years of just dating and, just I spent a lot of time in strip clubs in Virginia because I lived down the street from a strip club.
Okay.
And girls, like if you try to hit on a girl at a bar in Virginia and you're not like a pilot or a Navy SEAL or something, like they don't want, it was difficult. Dating was difficult for me in Virginia too. But I don't think just because of them, but because of me too, because the perpetual state of loneliness I was always in, it was like they could smell the desperation on me.
Oh, they can.
Because I would, like, my sister would be like, quit trying to sell yourself all the time. Just be yourself and just talk. Yeah. But I would always be like, oh, I'm this and I'm that. You know what I mean? Trying to sell myself and they could smell the desperation on me. And that was a pattern that I didn't even realize I was doing for the past, the 10 years prior to that. I think that's like the main reason why I had a hard time dating and just a lot of failed relationships because of that desperation. And so I ended up meeting my wife my ex-wife on Match.com, Puerto Rican girl. And she was a sweet girl. She was a good girl. I'm going to end up doing an upload about her being married to a Boricua for my channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Things that I learned, from being with a Boricua.
So, but I didn't like Virginia. I hated it there. I didn't like the food. I didn't like the people. The traffic was horrible. I didn't like the weather. I mean, the weather wasn't too bad, but, it would rain like 3-4 times. It would rain at least once every week. And, it was just kind of gloomy there and stuff. So I ended up getting a bonus check from my job for like $1,800 that year. And I was like, I can leave Virginia. And I've been wanting to come out to Arizona ever since I lived in Wisconsin. I just never thought I could. And so my wife's like, or she was my girlfriend at the time, and she's like, well, because I told her, I got this check, I'm leaving Virginia. I said, you can come with me or you can stay here. She's like, well, I want to come with you, but if I go with you, I want to get married. And I was like,
oh, and then you're like, why not?
All right. I was like, why not? Fine. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. And so we ended up getting married at a little bed and breakfast. It was a nice little service and everything. It was cool. My mom was there and my sister was there. And so we moved out here to Arizona. And it was kind of hard when we first got here. My credit was really bad. I didn't have money, so it was hard for us to get approved for a place and everything. So she finally just ended up applying for an apartment by herself. And then that's how we ended up getting our first place. And once I got here, the job situation out here for welders is a little weird. There's a lot of little crappy shops. So it took me a good 6 or 7 months before I found a good job that paid me well. And I always had like little jobs in between that would work for a month or a couple of weeks at a time. But she was a nurse, so she kind of carried us. I always had some sort of money coming in, but
so she was the breadwinner.
Yeah. She ended up she got a job at a prison out here, and she was making like her first job was like $33 an hour.
Well, it doesn't bode well in relationships when a woman makes more money than a man.
I found that out with my Filipino, but with she and I, it wasn't ever an issue. Like that didn't matter to her. Like I said, she was actually a sweet one. And I'm about to get to our divorce. So
yeah, let's keep into that one. What happened? What happened to what ended it?
So when I became a Christian, I got born again in March of 2018. Mm-hmm. Her mom was a Christian and her stepdad's a Christian. And her stepdad is a intelligence analyst for the FBI in Washington at the time.
Oh, wow.
And he's been a Christian ever since he was, a kid. I think he was a good guy. He's a pussy, which is weird because he's like 6'3" and bench presses 300 pounds. But when it comes to his wife, he's a pussy.
Sometimes it happens.
So her mom and I became really close because I just become a Christian. Mm-hmm. And so I would call her all the time, asking her questions. Oh, I heard this and I read this. And, so we ended up developing a really good relationship. Mm-hmm. And their financial situation was not good in Virginia. Her husband lived up in Northern Virginia, and her mom lived in Virginia Beach. So they lived 5 hours apart for like the past 10 years. So he's paying rent for her and paying rent for him. But, you know, she also gets a brand new car every 2 years too. So
Okay.
me and my ex-wife were saving up money, and we were about to buy a house. I was like, why don't you guys come and live here in Arizona with us? It'd be great, you know, because we're trying to have a kid, you know. You know, my wife's, you know, she's got the little watch for her cycle and this and that. And like, we're really trying to have a kid. And so they ended up moving out here. The stepdad stays in Northern Virginia because he's trying to get his job transferred out here. He doesn't want to come out here without a job, which I get. But so then her mom came, her sister came, which her sister is an absolute B. I can't stand her. But I was like, fine, whatever. And then her brother was like 22, but he had Down syndrome.
Ooh.
And he was a good kid. He really liked me. We got along really well and all that type of stuff. And he looked up to me. You know, he'd never had a brother figure in the house before. So they get out here, and I didn't know it, but the matriarchy. I didn't know what the matriarchy was.
Yeah, in Puerto Rico, it's different with like in Puerto Rico. It's very, it's just either it's traditional or they want to become completely and utterly dominant on everything.
And that was her mom. So her mom was actually half Puerto Rican and half Italian, but her real dad is full Puerto Rican. And they're all from New York, upstate New York. So her mom got out here and she thought that it was going to be her house. And I'm like, no, because we're house shopping and stuff. We're looking at houses, and my wife starts telling me like, well, we have to get a house with 2 master suites. I'm like, why? She's like, well, my mom wants the master bedroom. I'm like, you know how much that's going to cost? And you know, we're the one who's paying for this. We're the one who's getting up for work every day. We're going to pay for this. This is our house. I invited them to come live with us. I didn't invite them to come stay with us and us for them to buy them a house. You know what I mean? So we got into it one night. It blew up, and I was like, man, you guys got to go. You guys are going to have to go back to Virginia. And her husband is still in Virginia. So I was like, you need to go and be with your husband. And we ended up getting in a big fight, big argument. And my wife's mom says that she refuses to stay in the house with me. And because of the brother and his condition, I was like, well, all right, well, you can go ahead and stay here. I'll go stay somewhere else for my brother-in-law because he needs basically constant care. And so I ended up staying with a roommate at work, and within a couple months, we had went to counseling a couple times. And basically my wife is telling, you know, our counselor that my mom is making me choose between him or her. So ultimately she ended up choosing her mom.
Yeah, that's
and so we got the divorce finalized, or I got served at work, and we got divorced and finalized in February of 2020, and then COVID hit in March of 2020. So everything was locked down, and it was just kind of a big, horrible time. My drinking started again, and so I had quit drinking during my marriage to my wife, because I went out and got drunk, and we ended up getting in an argument, and she smacked me in the face, and then so I grabbed her by her arms, and I'm like, "Don't you ever hit me again!" And I didn't hit her or anything, but I grabbed her and was like, "Don't you ever hit me again!" And she told me the next day, "If you don't quit drinking, I'm leaving." And so I quit, and I was sober for a year and a half, and then I became a Christian, and then invited her family to come live with us, and that's what ended up in my divorce. And ever since my divorce, I've just kind of been working on bouncing back, and that's kind of where I am now, and why I started looking for, inspirational stuff and, inspirational videos. And then, like I said, I came across Jordan Peterson and Tribe of Men and discovered Andrew Tate. And
it all comes together.
Yeah. So that's where I am now.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy story.
There's a lot of stuff I skipped over.
Oh yeah,
too,
Like same for me on the interview.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to my because I had two brothers. I only spoke to about one brother. There's families and friends, and I spent some time in lockup too.
Yeah.
I got locked up too. So it's just so much. And so you look back, at first you don't think it's a whole lot until you start talking about it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh man, actually, I still have this. All of this starts coming out. You're like, oh well, actually, I could talk about this. I could talk about that. I could talk about this. And you're like, man, I'll be here all day if I want to talk about everything. But yeah, no, it's just it's kind of a crazy story about what we go through, especially like I see how that loneliness, in men, not having a stable, proper masculine figure, to guide it and kind of what to do with that emotions, those, what it is to be a man,
Yeah.
that really resonates with me because I feel for them. Now it's different. I feel like if I had a son now, I'll be able to guide him.
Yeah.
Be able to understand him, be able to do the things that I never received when I was a kid.
I agree, and I think had I had a son or a daughter anytime before where I am now, I think I would have repeated the cycle of my father.
Oh, absolutely. It's, and the Bible teaches us that about the generational curses that we carry, and and they need to be broken before and healed before, if not, we're just gonna continuously
just gonna keep going
to your next generation on it. Because we see, like, even with the story of Abraham on like Isaac, he had almost the same thing that happened with his father. He went through the same thing on there, almost exactly the same thing. When you start reading it, you start seeing what happens. That's generational. There's some things that are just that generational on there, and it could be good or it could be bad.
Well, I think I know I'm at the point in my life now where I can break that cycle.
Mm-hmm. The second you say you're born again, that's the beginning of it.
That's exactly what it means. You were born again,
and then you start changing the way you look at things, the way you speak, just the way your mindset, just the way you think, just by changing the way you think and your perception, that alone will changes everything.
Yeah, and just it's so important to read the Word. Yeah. Because you learn the lessons, because you learn what you're supposed to do, how you're not supposed to act. You kind of understand how things work.
That's why I like the book of Proverbs. I've read it. I've read it. I used to read it before, but now reading it again. So I just went through the whole book of Proverbs, and it's kind of enlightening. A lot of things that people are talking about, the red pill and all that stuff. It's been there. It's all there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So without knowing, it's like, hey, back in the day, they were red pill. They just didn't know it.
Well, and the thing about the book of Proverbs is, it doesn't matter where you're from, what religion you are, what color your skin is, what part of the world you're from. If anybody abides by the principles in that book, they will live a successful and happy life.
Yeah, that's why they called Solomon the wisest man in the world. Yeah. Because he had the wisdom of God. It was imparted on him. And that book, a lot of people, I tell that the book was meant for men. That's a book for men.
Yeah.
He wrote it for his sons,
Yeah.
That was you could almost say that was his legacy.
Absolutely.
And you could tell how powerful it is. We're talking about, thousands of years ago, and people are still learning from it.
Yeah.
What kind of legacy? I mean, that's the thinking about legacy. Can you imagine something that you leave something that thousands of years people still talk about?
Well, that's why God said his word will stand the test of time.
Yeah, and it has, it really has. I tell people, it's like, you could learn everything you need to know. It's right there. Like, we have an instruction booklet.
Yeah. Also, too, when I had started listening to Jordan Peterson, listening to his lectures, and even just his, you'll find a lot of like 15-minute inspirational videos about him or of him. Listening to his lectures gave me an understanding, actually not in a sense, it did give me an understanding of my behavior patterns and why they happened from my childhood, from my experiences, and why I was molded into the person that I become in those negative aspects. But now that I recognize it, now it can be changed. And I kind of think that's what therapy is supposed to do for people. You get those skeletons out and you heal those wounds and stuff. But it's like, JP, he was able to kind of do that for me without me even having to ever go meet him or even see a therapist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think we're good. I mean, we've been here for 2 hours, man.
Yeah.
See, I told you, time flies, man. Time flies, and on there. But this has been really really good on there.
I hope it didn't ramble on too much.
No, I think no, this was good. Because I think that's why I like having kind of like a platform. It's just like, no, just talk. Say everything that you need to say. So because you can't get your real idea out in just a soundbite. You really have to develop it and think about it. And it's kind of great to get to know somebody else, get to know another man on a personal level. Then especially, they've heard my story.
Yeah,
it seems like everybody understands me, but I don't understand, other people. So it's good to get to understand people on a deeper part on it. It's hard to really open up and expose those parts of you on there, but once you do that, there's a part of you that's just free. Once you do that, it's free. Those burdens are no longer there. You don't carry them anymore. The air, the world carries them now. It's no longer a part of you. You shed that by just expressing it on it. So, hopefully this is something, and I can continue to do. I know Bo is super busy. He can only do so much. So hopefully,
for sure,
we can both, as we together on it, start talking to other men and start, expressing our ideas for, bringing more guests out here so they, we could have this, Jordan Peterson-esque conversation where we're actually delving into the mind, so to speak.
Also, I want to add that I wholeheartedly believe that I think that our collaboration, you and I, our union, I believe it's a divine connection.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe it 100%.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes people may be like, oh, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't think so, dude. Like I say in my videos all the time, there's too many coincidences, and in this life, there are no coincidences.
Yeah, and ever since I started this walk, doors have been opening, doors have been opening. People are I've been approached, and I'm approaching people that I never met, and then things are clicking and are moving. So now it's just the time for me to move and not stop. And when the door opens, I'm just going to walk through it and see what happens, I'm going to keep doing that over and over again on it. And as I go through this, let's see what come out of it.
And, we're just two average dudes. We're regular dudes,
That's right. We're just two Spartans discussing life, faith, religion, and the Spartan challenge.
That's it, baby. That's it. That's all we can do. And I think that we're going to help a lot of guys in the meantime. I don't doubt it one bit. Absolutely.
So I'm going to wrap it up this way by saying all the information is going to be about your channel. It's going to be on the comments below. I'm going to have some cards out there on there. Information about the Spartan challenge is going to be on the description around on there. You'll have this to post on your channel as well on it. We'll continue to do more collabs, get more people in, start discussing some trendy things, even talking about the TATE. You can't say it too loud, because the fembots might come out of the woods and be like, huh? What happened?
That's my big brother, man.
Did somebody say misogyny? Oh.
Yeah.
Testosterone? Is somebody's testosterone levels are climbing?
Yeah.
We can't have that.
Nope.
Bring out the soy.
Yeah. All right, brother.
But yeah, this has been really, really good, man. Yeah, man, this has been great, man. This is actually this is the kind of stuff that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and kind of seeing it to fruition. Like I said, this is crazy. I feel at ease.
Yeah, I do
comfortable
too.
doing it, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Can't wait to see where this takes us.
I agree. I want to be as transparent as I can be. I want guys out there to know that if a bonehead welder can do it, y'all can do it too.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So, fellas, until next time on it, keep lifting, keep praying, and keep reading the word.
Yep.